All right, fellas, this is going to be a video on the no BS method to getting shredded in 2024. I'm going to take you through it, show you how to do it the easiest way, and get you to your goals a lot quicker than you think you can. Let's start with the fundamentals though. So, how are we going to lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time? First of all, it goes without saying a calorie deficit. If you eat less than you need to maintain your current weight, you will lose weight. Very, very simply. One cannot happen without the other. If you're in a calorie deficit, you will be losing weight regardless. Now, we want to make sure that weight is fat and not muscle. The way we do this is very simple: heavy weight training. So if you're training heavy, and I'm not talking about a decent weight for 12 to 15 reps, I'm talking about some heavy compound exercises for 6 to 8 reps, that is going to force your muscles to grow. It's going to stimulate muscle growth and essentially give it a reason to stay, give it a reason to actually grow. Because in order to get stronger, in order to lift heavier weights, something must change in the body. So if we can get that down, if we can get the heavy weight training, if we can keep protein really high, we will not only keep muscle, we will likely gain muscle, which means if we're in a calorie deficit and losing weight, the only weight we should be losing is fat. That's a very, very simple way explained to kind of show you that you can indeed burn fat and gain muscle at the same time. It's not the most optimal way. Obviously, if you're in a surplus, you're actually going to be in a much better position to be gaining muscle, but it is possible with the right routine. And that's what we're going to talk about. So that's your bread and butter to start with if you want to be losing body fat and gaining muscle at the same time. It's how you get that shredded look. Now, this is not for someone who's just starting out. I always recommend hitting a quick surplus to get started. That's what's going to gain the most amount of muscle in the quickest amount of time. But let's say you've been training for 2 years now. You've been in that bulk period. You've got a lot of muscle now, but you can't really see it. It's hid behind the fat. This is what we need to be looking to do. So daily steps are also going to be really important. I'll put it very bluntly. If you're not active, if you're staying in your room all the time, you're missing out on benefits of walking that will just boost your metabolism in general, allow you to burn a certain amount of calories, and also keep you relatively healthy. I think it goes without saying we should be hitting at least 6,000 steps a day. I think 10,000's got this, magic number around it. It's a little bit hard to hit 10,000 if you're not very active, maybe if you're a remote worker, but I think everyone can achieve 6,000, go for 3 walks a day, 20 minutes, that's 2,000 at a time, but it's pretty easy. So that's the importance of staying active. Now, the last thing I want to go on about before I move on is sleep. Sleep, right, is the most important thing you can do if you want to build muscle, for one, and lose fat. The point is, if you were to have 6 hours of sleep, you'd be putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. Like, you wouldn't believe it. 8 hours sleep is a minimum. It goes without saying. If you don't get this, you are at a significant disadvantage. I'll go on later and talk about this, but essentially, good sleep, good quality sleep, is going to boost your testosterone. And when you have a high level of testosterone, you're able to put on more lean muscle mass. You can lose fat quicker, and it's a lot easier. It's also very good for your whole health. Never neglect sleep. Even if you want to get those extra hours of work, they're never productive when you ruin your sleep. So prioritize that and you'll get very, very far. But calorie deficit. So I want to explain very simply how this works. I'm sure a lot of you got the gist, but for those who don't, you want to find out what your maintenance calories are. We use a TDEE calculator, total daily expenditure. That's kind of what it stands for. And maintenance calories are essentially what your body needs in terms of calories to maintain your current level of mass. Okay, so if you were to eat that, you would not gain weight, nor would you lose weight. Now, we manipulate this by subtracting 500 to put us in a deficit. So 500 times 7, that's 3,500 calorie deficit over a week. That's going to result in us losing a certain amount of weight per week. And our goal is to get that to be body fat. So your starting point is to get in that calorie deficit. That's what's going to make sure we're actually initiating the weight loss process. I say that you can go as low as 750. That's the point where you can start to see results a lot quicker. But I wouldn't jump into that. I would say start at 500 and dynamically decrease it. So you get to that 750 calorie deficit. You want to just kind of analyze how weight's going at the moment. Are you dropping weight? And then do that accordingly. But I wouldn't do any more. I think a lot of people make a mistake where they think less calories, right, means more weight loss. But that's not true, because if you actually look at a lot of, obese people or people who are struggling to lose weight, they starve themselves and don't eat. But it never works, right? The very simple reason why is because it forces your body into starvation mode. Your body is primed for survival. So what will happen is if you're not getting enough calories to function, it will essentially start storing fat as a source of energy. It will plummet your metabolism, testosterone will drop. It's not the right way to be maintaining muscle mass and losing fat. It will just get you nowhere very fast. It's a big mistake I see with some clients, and I think the best way to put it is less is more. Get yourself in deficit, but don't overdo it. It has a reverse effect. So that's your calorie deficit. Now we can use cardio to help with this. Maybe some people don't want to restrict food, so we can do cardio instead to put us in that 500 calorie deficit, maybe burning that on a run. But I want you to be wary of how much you're burning. Say we're already in a deficit and we're burning calories through cardio as well. We're going to do exactly what I just said, put ourselves in too much of a deficit and then cause a reverse effect. So it's very important that you're tracking and understanding what you're eating. And if you are doing that cardio, make sure to treat yourself a little bit after. I like to go for a 5K, go down for a coffee, maybe a croissant, because I can. I've burnt those calories. That's all it is. So calorie deficit, that's your number one. Now, we talked about heavy weights. We need to lift heavy, maybe even heavier than you did on a bulk, because when you're in a calorie deficit, your body just wants energy and it will catabolize, which basically means using muscle mass to kind of for energy if it needs to. If you don't give it a reason to keep that muscle or gain any more, then it's not going to keep it. Why would it? And the way we do this is very simple. Lift heavy. If you focus on getting stronger every single week and you really put your all into this, I'm talking eating carbs before your workout so you have enough energy, listening to some serious good music, some pre-workout, whatever you need to do to get a good session, we like focus on it and give it our all, then you're going to make sure that the weights keep increasing. And if the weights keep increasing, something must have changed for that to occur. You got stronger. So if you're getting stronger, you're building more muscle. That's all it is. That's how simple it is. I don't want anyone to overcomplicate it. You just need to get stronger every week. And what you need to do to get there is all on you. It takes preparation. You can't turn up to a workout fasted. You can't turn up with low energy, like, oh, I'm gonna lift this. I'm not feeling it today. Now you've got to come in and you got to fucking hit it. You got to go big. And that's why I always recommend to do like a kind of 3-day, 4-day split. Because if you were to do that 6 days in a week, it's pretty draining. I don't think I could go 100% balls to the wall 6 days a week. I do it 4 days a week, maybe even 3. And it's a long-term game. That's what we need to think about. Essentially, if we're doing this, we're going to give our body a reason to grow muscle. And that's what you really want to be focusing on. Because if you can do that, like I said, if you can maintain or even grow muscle whilst in a deficit, the only way you lose must be fat. That's how you gain muscle and burn fat at the same time. If we do this over a period of 3 months, you will get shredded. It is that simple. To go alongside this, we need a high protein diet. So to be honest with you, it's normally about a kilo, 1.5 kilo per kilogram of, okay, I've done that completely wrong, right? 1 kilo to 1.5 gram per kilo of muscle mass. But I say overestimate a little bit, so let's just do it at body weight. Now, that's going to work out as 150 to 200 grams for the average person. It's very easy to hit. People think it's hard. It's not. You just need to eat protein with every meal. You need to eat chicken for dinner or some sort of high protein meat. Maybe it's steak, maybe it's fish, whatever it is, turkey breast. And you just need to focus on getting protein every meal. So that could be Greek yogurt, protein powder here, a bit of tuna, eggs, all of this with every meal. And you will hit the protein. And it's going to be important to you for 2 reasons. One, it's fundamental for muscle growth, right? Without a certain amount of protein, we can't actually repair our muscles and grow, which is not good. And on top of that, it's very satiating. So what that means is it will fill you up, because one killer for a calorie deficit is having cravings. If you're hungry at the time when you're not full, you're going to open the fridge and be like, oh, what have we got here? Snacking here and there. So the importance of having that kind of lean meat, that lean protein with every meal will really strive to keep you full, and it will stop the likelihood of those cravings. If you were not to consume this amount of protein, if you weren't to have high protein in your diet, you'll essentially just lose muscle mass and you will lose weight at the same time. But then that gets you to a point where you arrive at some skinny fat physique, which is not what we wanted. The title of this video was to get shredded. So high protein, It's a must. Daily steps. So like I said, daily steps is different from cardio. It's a metabolism booster. You need to be doing it on top of normal cardio because this is what you do to just really boost your metabolism and make sure that you're actually in a position to be burning fat. If you're not active, if you're living a sedentary lifestyle where you're just training and that's it, you're not even doing your cardio, but you're in a deficit, yes, you will lose weight, but at a slower rate, and you're not really doing yourself any favors. I think walking is a must. So, if you're not working some sort of job where you're getting your 10,000 steps and you're working remote, for example, maybe you run a business, just make sure that you go for a nice 10-minute meal, 10-minute walk after every meal. Helps digestion, good for the brain, gets you thinking, and also allows you to get around 2,000 steps per 15 minutes of walking. Do that 3 times a day, you hit 6,000. It's that easy. Next, we've got sleep. So I talked about this, 8 hours is a minimum. Somewhere along the way, we were told 6 is okay. It really isn't. I think I watched a video the other day that showed there's like 1% of people, or like even less than that, who can truly function on 6 hours sleep. Most people just sell them to themselves, and because if everyone's doing it, then they think they can do it. Well, the truth is, you're just lying to yourself. You need 8 hours minimum, because how much better do you feel? For one, your cognitive function is there, but not only that, it boosts your testosterone. There is a study that I read the other day that shows the person who sleeps 6 hours as opposed to the person who sleeps 8 loses 50% less fat in comparison. Think about that. 2 hours. I know it doesn't seem like a big difference, but 2 hours over a prolonged period of time, over a week, that's 14 hours. Over a month, that's 60 hours. It adds up. And I think if your goal is to gain lean muscle mass and to shred body fat and to feel better and to get ahead in life, stop sacrificing your sleep. I think the reason people sacrifice sleep is because they try and do more in the evenings. Maybe they're trying to work more, but it's never productive work. Just go to sleep earlier and do the work in the morning, or optimize your routine so you can get more sleep. It's not that hard. Like, just go to bed. Do you know what I mean? That's all you've got to do. So I think when people start to understand this, and when you actually start to incorporate this, your life becomes a lot easier. Everything falls into place. And one thing I do want to recommend as well, when you say you're going to get a certain amount of hours, you need to add about half an hour on. So if you want 8 hours sleep, aim for 8.5, because you don't just fall asleep instantly. Maybe you do, but the point is, I've tracked this for myself, and on average, people are awake for around 45 minutes a night. So if I want 8 hours sleep, I need to be getting 8 hours 45, right? That's why people who literally go to bed at 12 and wake up at 6 and think they're getting 6 hours are probably getting 5, and that's why they feel like shit. So that is your number one priority. I think a lot of people look for this supplements and steroids and ways to grow muscle quicker. Don't neglect the basics. Sleep is the silver bullet. Sleep is a literal steroid. So just make sure that you're on that every single day. If you can get all of these down, I know it sounds really basic, but it is. That's all it is. So get those 5 down. Now, I want to share some simple hacks that I've been using, and these fucking work. All right. Intermittent fasting, it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment. What it essentially means is delay your first meal to about noon. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, your work block in the morning is always so much more productive. You're not digesting all the energy, is going to your brain. You're pretty hungry, but you're really focused. And there's a way where you can actually, mitigate that. We drink a lot of coffee, basically. It goes hand in hand. You do more work because you're caffeinated, and you also suppress your appetite because of caffeine. But the reason why we delay the first meal is because think about when are you likely most to crave? When are you likely most to break a diet? It's at the end of the night. And what tends to happen if you don't delay your first meal, you eat at maybe 8 o'clock, then you eat at 11, then you eat at 1, then you eat at 4 p.m. And by 4 p.m., you've hit your 2,000 calories for the day. But then you go to bed at 10. There's 6 hours there where you're like, shit, I'm hungry, but I can't eat anymore. It's because you set yourself up for failure. You need to actually prepare and delay your first meal, because not many people are hungry in the morning, and you can use caffeine to your advantage if you are. Say we actually have our first meal at 1 p.m. It means we can have our first at 1, then one at 4, then one at 7, and maybe one at like 9. That way, you're never sat on the sofa at 8 p.m. watching TV thinking, oh shit, I want to eat something, It's a really, really good trick. And that's your number one. I'd say drink a lot of water as well. So, I've got this 2 litre, 1.5 litre bottle, and I've reduced the friction that it takes to hydrate myself. I'm not using a little 500 milliliter bottle. I'm using a 1.5 litre because I only have to fill that up twice to get 3 litres of water. And if anyone, obviously you know this, but if you're drinking a lot of water, it's a little bit hard to eat because your stomach is full. So make sure we are hydrated. It becomes very, very easy. The next I want to talk about is carb loading pre-exercise. I brushed on it earlier, but essentially carbs give you more energy. Okay. So at a point where we're in a calorie deficit and we don't have much energy, we want to be using carbs just before our lifts to make sure that we're able to lift as heavy as possible to produce as much of the stimulus as possible to grow more muscle. That's literally it. So if you're going to eat a big carb heavy meal, maybe a bowl of oats with some fruit and some honey, maybe a little bit of sugar, have that right before your meal. You have a great workout. You won't crash after as well because you've used all those carbs. It's pretty useful. Next, eat satiating foods. So satiating just essentially means less calorific foods that take up volume in your stomach. So this would be the opposite if you were bulking. If you were bulking, you'd want the calorific foods. But there are certain foods such as vegetables. If you were to take a whole broccoli, it would come in at about 100 calories. But I guarantee if you ate a whole broccoli with your dinner, it would fill you up massively. There's foods like this. Rice. Rice is a really good one. It's pretty low in calories and it's high in volume. Chicken, meat, protein, all of this pretty low in calories. Chicken and rice, although it's a top bodybuilder meal, is not good for bulking. It's amazing for cutting because the rice and chicken provides you with a nice amount of protein with about 400 calories. So that's why everyone goes on about chicken and rice, as opposed to avocados and olive oils and pasta. These are all calorific foods that do the same thing. They take the same amount of volume in your stomach, but they have a lot of calories in them, hidden calories almost, which is not what you want to be eating on a cut because you want to be spacing out your meals and really spacing out your calories. So that's something to be aware of. It's all a little bit of a game because if you can get all of this right, it then becomes a consistent habit. Because the truth is, and I'll go on to the next slide now, but consistency is what you need. Those are the basics. Those are everything you need to know about cutting, about getting shredded. That's all you have to do. But the truth is, it's a long process. It does take time. Stop looking at the weight. The weight doesn't really matter too much. You just need to nail the basics and understand that if you're in a deficit, you have to lose weight. It's impossible not to lose weight while in a deficit, provided you're getting the right amount of sleep, you're doing all the other things right, okay? What I used to do, and I think a lot of people do, is they look in the mirror and judge their progress by how lean they are, how, can they see their abs? And that is a great way of viewing progress. But the point is, you can't spot reduce fat. You can't pick and choose where fat comes off. It comes off from wherever. It might come from your arms, it might come from your legs, your back. And the point is, if you're in a calorie deficit, you will be losing fat, but you can't decide where and when. So what I want to explain here is just you've got to be consistent. You've got to have that willpower to be constantly doing, the basics, focusing on the inputs and stop looking at the outputs. Do the stuff every single day and just make sure that you're consistent with it. And then literally just wait 3 months. Wait 3 months and look where you're at. You'll be in a much better position. Because there's times when I've done it. In fact, I'm on it now. I'm on a cut. It's been the last month. I'm not looking that leaner in my abs. I'm feeling leaner. I can see my veins and my arms coming through, but it's a long process. I've done it before. It takes around 3 months to really see some results. But the point is, if you just nail the basics, you just focus on the inputs and ignore the outcome, you will stay consistent. And that's what you need. Because I think people want quick results and then they assume it's not working and then drop the calories more and then they pick up the cardio. No, you just got to be in it for the long game. And that's why it's not for everyone. You need willpower. You need to be able to do the same thing every single day and expect no results. And that's true of everything in life. It's like business, right? If you want to make money, you've got to be able to do stuff over and over again without getting paid until eventually you get fucking paid. It's the exact same with getting shredded. You got to do the calorie deficit every single day. You got to show up and get your steps in, train hard, because you know that you might not see it in the first 2 months, 3-4 months later, you're going to shred the body fat, you're going to look lean, you're going to get shredded, and you're going to be exactly where you want to be. That's all it is. So in summary, the most important things you can take away from this video is number one, a calorie deficit. We're not going to achieve this without a calorie deficit. So we want that high protein and cardio to make sure we're in that. We want to be training heavy to make sure that we're stimulating enough muscle growth, and we want to be sleeping so we're actually getting, that protein synthesis in. We're actually resting to recover and grow that muscle. That's why 8 hours is so important. Intermittent fasting, I've said that buzzword, but it just means delay your first meal. Do that. Drink coffee in the mornings. Be more productive. You'll notice that you actually get a lot more done, and two birds, one stone. It'll be much easier to reduce cravings. Walk daily. It's going to help. No one's not benefited from walking daily. If you're not doing it, start doing it. And last of all, I'd say is actually the most important. Stay patient. Just enjoy the process, as they say. It might not be enjoyable for some, but try and eat foods that you enjoy. You can eat foods that you enjoy. You can have a few nights out if you want. You just got to put in the work. You got to do the cardio. I think I did a video yesterday on that. Have a watch that if you haven't. But yeah, you just got to stay patient and enjoy it. It's a long-term thing. Don't expect short-term results. Do this every single day. Don't expect any results, and then just watch what happens in a space of 3 or 4 months. But that's what I can tell you from doing my 6-month cut last year. It was a long process, but I got the rewards. Felt amazing. I looked good. And if you really want to get shredded this year, that's all you need to do. I don't think I could actually tell you anything more. I don't think there is more to it. It is that simple. Follow the basics, do the inputs every single day, and just stay patient, stay consistent, watch what happens. Do that, and you're sorted. But yeah, that's everything. How to get shredded in 2024. Take this video, use it, and get started today. By summer, you'll be a whole different person, and you'll be grateful you started. So yeah, that's all for today, fellas. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.